A deductible expense is any money that you spend that has a reasonable chance of producing income sometime in the future. Everybody wants to know how to beat the tax man, but in reality, what you have to do is ensure the tax man doesn't beat you. And the way you do that is, first of all, by having good documentation. You must be able to drill down to the supporting documents very quickly. You must also be able to benchmark your results versus other businesses that are in similar businesses to yourself. And finally, the most important part is you need a professional that knows and understands the Income Tax Act that can attest to the fact that you've handled your transactions appropriately. Keep track of all the money you spend, make sure you have receipts for all the money you spend, and you will maximize your expenses, minimize your taxes, and grow your business. Beating the tax man is something everybody wants to hear about, but in reality, it's preventing the tax man from beating you, because you're not going to be able to deduct expenses that aren't deductible. But if you keep track of all the money that you spend, chances are it will be deductible. I had a client who had deducted approximately $8,000 of business clothing. He had kept track of all of his expenses. He had incurred expenses of approximately $10,000 on business clothing. He actually could show that there were some business clothing that he didn't use primarily for business that he hadn't deducted. We did a good job of documenting those expenses. When the individual was audited, we were able to go to the tax department and tell them that there was a previous case in which it was held that if you do have a certain amount of personal latitude when you have business clothing, and as long as you use the business clothing primarily to earn business income, it can be deductible. So this client was able, with a total amount of $8,000 for business clothing in 1 year, to be successful in deducting that expense, primarily because he had shown that he had not only incurred the $8,000 but additional expenses that he hadn't used primarily for business, and this strategy was successful in helping him to deduct expenses that he thought was beating the tax man.